Jacob was told a long time ago, his mother said, you better get out of town because you cheated your older brother Esau, and he is hopping mad. And so Jacob did so. I don't have to give you a recap of the ladder of angels or his moving in with his father-in-law. Well, let's touch upon his father-in-law. Everybody here, I assume at some point or other in their lives, has had a father-in-law. And fathers-in-law can be good or they can be bad. In Jacob's case, Lavan is, well, is the jury still out on this guy? Because I could speak in favor of him, but let's take the traditional viewpoint. He was a ganef, he was a paskudniak, he was a loizer, he was a no-goodnik.
So why did you think he was pretty good?
Oh, that's next year. Okay. Because it's literature, sweetie, it's literature. You can argue both ways, really. And if you're a rabbi, you know, when you're a rabbi, before you graduate from rabbinical school, they ask you to prove in 3 or 6 ways why pork should be kosher. So, I'm telling you.
That's your final exam?
No, that's the take home. Okay. Anyway, but you see what I'm saying? What, Shelley?
Take home or take out?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, take out.
But the point is, it's an unusual business being a rabbi, okay? Jacob. So Jacob needs 20 years back pay. He is very wealthy in cattle and wives and children. That's where we get the 12 tribes who are out in the lobby if you want to look at them. They're on the wall. And it's time for him to leave. And this is the part I really, really enjoy, because Rachel, you know, when you're raised a certain way, it's hard to get away from it. And in Rachel's case, they had the teraphim. Now, the teraphim are household gods. They've dug some of these up. The Venus of Willensdorf. Have you ever seen her? She's a nice little lady without much of a face, but she's got a big belly. She's a fertility symbol. If you want some others, for example, they're in my office. I've got Ganesha on one shelf. I've got Buddha on another shelf, and so on. I don't pray to these things. I simply admire them for what they stood for. Okay, so in her case, she swipes the household gods, the little clay gods, and she puts them in the knapsack on her camel, and they're on their way. Well, Lavan, you see, they snuck away, they sneaked away at midnight, and Lavan hears about this, and he is hopping mad. Also because Jacob, through a stratagem we don't have to discuss right now, took the lion's share of the cattle and sheep and goats and camels. I don't know if camels were domesticated yet, but it makes a good story. I think they are. I think that old Joe is mentioned in the text, if you think about it. All right, so Rachel is sitting on the camel. Lavan comes with, 200, 400 armed men. Somehow they always like the number 4. Why do they like the number 4? Because it's the number of perfection. How many matriarchs? 4. Have you ever met a woman who was not perfect?
No.
Okay, so there you go.
Not yet.
All right. Anyway, stop trying. Okay. All right, so Lavan tracks them down, and Jacob presents no resistance whatsoever. And Lavan says to him, and I don't think you ever heard a speech like this from your father-in-law. He says, I have it in my power to hurt you, but I'm going to let you go this time. But, you know, if you had told me you were leaving, I'd have thrown you a party, I'd have sent you off with much fanfare and celebration, and you sneaked out of town in the middle of the night.
Sorry.
It's all right. That must be Lavan. Lavan would call on Shabbos. Okay. All right. So in the meantime, he goes through the camp, sneaking around, Lavan does, and he sees that Rachel has not dismounted from her camel. Why? Because she's sitting on the bag that has the clay statues in it, and she doesn't want the old man to find them. And she says to him, I assume from atop the camel, my Lord, forgive me for not rising, for the way of women is upon me, and I'm in great pain. And Lavan leaves. They raise a pile of stones. In those days, you raised a pile of stones to show that you felt the presence of God. And I know that Lavan calls it Yigar Sahaduta, which means in Aramaic, it's a pile of stones. What does, well, no, we don't know. What does Jacob call it? Jacob calls it something much more impressive. Now, this is really where the rubber meets the road. because Jacob has been away from his hometown for 20 years. And do you think Esau is still ticked at him? See, you don't know. You don't know. There's some people, I'll bet you know, maybe in your family, God forbid, you got people who hold a grudge, and they hold this grudge to their bosom, and it becomes the most important part of their lives. Okay? Why my cousin Susan hasn't spoken to us in 35 years. All right. So, Jacob comes, and messengers come. Okay? Now, if you believe Chabad, they were angels. If you believe me, they were human beings. Because the Hebrew word malach means a shaliach. It means a messenger, but it also means an angel. I'm going with the earthly, not the celestial type of messenger. The messengers come back, and they say, your brother Esau is on his way to meet you. And behold, he's got 400 armed men with him. And this is where Jacob... See, people don't remember what makes Sammy run. People remember Duddy Kravitz. This is Jacob. Jacob is Duddy Kravitz. He's a go-getter. He has some ethics, but they're still in development, okay? Because the beauty of the Torah, or at least whoever wrote this section of Genesis, Bereshit, is that they present this guy to us, warts and all. But Jacob immediately, his brain starts conniving. Okay. Esau is the kind of guy who likes presents. He doesn't have much in the brains department, but he's got a nice belly. And when his belly is full, the heart is happy. You know people like this. Okay, so he sends a really nice selection of cattle and sheep and goats, etc. And he spreads them out. Why does he spread them out? See, that's what my mother said to me. Spread it out, because I had gotten into the bridge mix before the Mahjong game. Okay? Because there's something about bridge mix. You got to keep eating it because you don't know what you're going to find. All right, so Jacob sends the bridge mix to Esau, but he's not done yet. Okay? Next thing he's got to do is split his family into two camps. Are they armed camps? Not really, no. I mean, come on, you got two mommies, the babies are crying, they're schlepping along, they got no way to ride anything. So he takes Leah and her children, first Bilhah, because she's just a concubine, she doesn't count. And then Zilpah, she's concubine number 2. She doesn't count. And then Leah, she counts but barely because she's very prolific. And the off chance you lose your kids, you need a whole new bunch. She's your woman. Okay, I'm just telling you what they say in the Chumash, or the impression they give in the Chumash. And at the back is Rachel, the apple of his eye, and her first little boy. And what's his name? Starts with a J? Joseph. They're the most important people. So he's done everything. He's done everything he can. Spread out the bridge mix, send the family up with the least important ones in the front. And now the night falls. And a man wrestled with Jacob until the break of dawn. Who's this guy? Nobody knows. Some people say it is Esau's spirit. Some people say it's an angel. Some people, myself among them, say it is Jacob, because everyone here has had one occasion, the night before the interview, the night before the exam, the night before the wedding, when you're full of turmoil and conflicting thoughts. They wrestle, and the angel, let's say the angel, touches him in the hollow of the thigh, so that for the rest of his life, this very proud, very self-sufficient, very chutzpahdik Duddy Kravitz is going to walk with a limp. Why is that important, the limp? Because he's not perfect anymore. Because life has laid its hand upon him and taken away something very valuable. And also to make him stop being so full of himself and start thinking there are other people living in the world. Well, the sun is coming up, very dramatic scene, and the angel says, "Let me go, for the day breaketh." Because apparently he's a nighttime angel, he can't be around the daytime, okay? And Jacob says, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And the angel says, "What is your name?" Now the name has so much totemic power in the Torah, in folklore, in superstition, in all those Anansi tales from Africa. He says, Jacob. Jacob means the one who pushes the other aside, the one who takes advantage, the one who cuts to the front of the line, the one who cuts you off in traffic. See? That's Jacob all the way. And the angel says, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Yisrael, because it means he who wrestles with God. For you have wrestled with God, you have wrestled with man, and you have prevailed. And Jacob says, tell me, what is your name? You must not ask my name, says the angel. And he vanishes. I love this part. Because this is where it's no longer Jacob, it's every man, every woman, every Jew, every whatever. It's the human struggle. But here's another thing. It's what you call the, Rumpelstiltskin. Remember Rumpelstiltskin? Okay? The poor girl is trapped in the king's tower with a bunch of straw, and the king has said, I want you to spin this straw into gold. And she said, I can't do it. He says, well, then I'll kill you. You know, you gotta love guys like that. They either marry you or kill you. And he goes and locks her in, and all of a sudden, a mysterious little man, poof, appears, a troll, an elf, a kobold, I don't know which, and says, hey, honey, sweetie baby, what's the problem? She says, I really, truly need this straw woven into gold. He says, no problem. Does it, whoop. She says, that's great. What can I do for you? He says, when you get married and you have a baby, I'm going to come back a year after that baby is born, and I'm going to take the baby. And then he vanishes. She marries the king. Things move along very nicely. And then, of course, she has the baby. The troll, the kobold, shows up, demands the baby. And the woman says, the queen says, give me a day. Give me 1 day. And the elf, troll, whatever, says, okay, fine. She sends messengers throughout the land, and one of them comes out of the forest in a distant location and sees a little rude shack, and standing in front of the shack is a cauldron full of water. Next to the cauldron is a little troll dancing, and he sings, today I bake, tomorrow I brew, today for one, tomorrow for two. For how should she know, my poor royal dame, that Rumpelstiltskin is my name? And of course, you know what happens next. She calls him Rumpelstiltskin. He gets so angry, he spins, and then he explodes. Happy ending, ever after. The point is, the people who call me rabbi are different from the people who call me Professor Mark, are different from the people who call me David, and it's the same thing with all of you. Names are familiarity, but in the Torah at least, names are charms. Names are very powerful. If you know the name, you can control the being, the person. That's why there's one name we never pronounce the way it's written, and it applies to God. Because the whole world is Mr. and Mrs. and Ms. God is always addressed by his first name. Okay, back to Jacob and Esau. Esau comes next morning, got sword, shield, spear, bow, arrow, shotgun, the whole 9 yards. And Jacob says, hello, my brother. Esau runs to meet him and kisses him. This is where the rabbis jump in. Rashi or somebody say, oh, he bit him on the neck. Well, come on. I was glad to see him. He's a schlub. But, you know, a lot of us have schlubby relatives. What are you going to do? They're your relatives. You got to love them. Okay. All right. So Esau says, what is all this? Referring, of course, to the bridge mix. And Jacob says, this is all presents for you. And Esau says, I have plenty. I have plenty. And Jacob says, please take it. He says, and who are these people? He says, oh, these are my wives, these are my children. Very nice, says Esau. You know how it is? Because you ate your kishkis all night before the interview, before the exam, before the whatever. And the next day, what happened? Everything is fine. And I should just tell myself that once in a while. Well, the end result is that Esau says, come on, go with me. I'm going to my mountain, Har Seir, Mount Seir, which comes in for some very bad publicity later on. It's an evil place. And Jacob says, no, I'll go on my way. And they two separate. And they really don't run into each other again. Maybe not like with Abraham, not when they had to bury him. I don't think anybody came back to bury poor Isaac. But it's quite a story. At the end, oh, this is sad. Let me throw this in real quick. Rachel is Aufzuris. Her whole life, Rachel is beautiful, but you know, beauty is not everything. Okay? I think Leah was very perspicacious, as a matter of fact. And Leah was the one who built the Israelites into what they are today. But Rachel becomes pregnant, goes into labor, and dies giving birth, which was not unusual in those days for a woman to die in childbirth. Rachel dies. Before she dies, the labor was so difficult that she calls the boy Ben-Oni, which means son of my affliction, son of my trouble. But Jacob, because he's that kind of guy, changes the name to Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. But that's why, of all the patriarchs and matriarchs, Adam and Eve and so on and so forth, who are buried in Ma'arat Machpelah, the cave of Machpelah in Hebron, the only one who isn't is Rachel. She's a bit down the road. And all the women with infertility problems go there to tie a red bendel, to tie a red ribbon around her building. She has a very tragic life. But what I love about this Torah portion is these are real people making real choices and dealing with their family, dealing with their kids, all in the shadow of God. Okay? Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. We already lit candles. So, yes. Yes.
This is a very theatrical thing.
Yes.
We could present it at Broward Theater.
Yes, you could. Yes.
They could play.
Yes, nobody, well, a few people have. What's his name? John Milton wrote what they called a closet drama about Samson Agonistes. But the Bible, for the most part, has not, shall we say, lent itself to the creative arts. But you're right, they should have. Okay? All right. Here we go.
Good Shabbos, everyone, again. Yosher Koach to the Rabbi. So we are going to start our ritual part of the service on page number 13. Welcoming our angels, the angel of peace. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malchuni Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Okay, 14, Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid Nefesh, Habarak Amar, Meshok Avdach, Eretz Onach, Yarot Avdach, Gemoayar, Yishtachaveh, Euladarach, Yerablo, Yedidutach, Ilof Etzof, Bekoltam, Yarai lai lai lai, Yarai lai lai lai, Yarai lai 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 lai, Yarai lai lai lai, Yarai lai lai lai, Yarai lai 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 lai, Yarai lai lai lai, Yarai lai lai lai, Yarai lai 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 lai, Yarai lai lai lai, Yarai lai lai lai, Yarai
Oh, okay. I'm back. All right. Page 21 is the L'chadodi.
Dejando לקראת כלה, בין שבת נקבלה, דejando לקראת כלה, בין שבת נקבלה. שהמור וסקור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו לתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו בנלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם לסוכה, סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה.
Page 22, fourth stanza. Please rise, face the door through which Sabbath Queen will enter.
בואי בשלום עתיד בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, וכמוני סולם, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי, דודי לקראת כלה, בין שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בין שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בין שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בין שבת נקבלה.
Page 28 is the Baruch Fu, and we're going to ask the cantor and his family. Dahlia, are you busy? Yeah, she's busy. Never mind. She's always busy. Thank God. All right, we're going to ask you folks to do psicha. If you come open the ark, if you don't open the ark, the service has to end right here. So we're right up on that. Nicely done, Yasher Koach. Very good.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Amen. As the ark is closed, you may be seated. Thank you. Okay.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מרים הרבים בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחריב את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. הוא מעביר יום הוא מביא לילה, הוא מבדיל בין יום ולילה. אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. הוא מעביר יום הוא מביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובלילה. אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, אמרי ורבי.
All right, we'll do the English reading on page 358. 358, show us how to fashion holiness. 358, yes, we're going all the way to the back. We do this sometimes. I'm sorry, what? Yes, after this, we're not. We can do the Shema. If we don't do the Shema, it's not enough. All right, I think we can read, well, let's do this responsively, paragraph by paragraph. O God, show us how to fashion holiness from waste, uncovering sparks in the broken shells of people beaten down by circumstance and mired in the boredom of hollowness. Together, teach us to take and neutralize reality and create the sublime, forming shapes of blessings with a sacred touch. Instruct us in sympathy that we may learn to tear away at hopelessness, and the groan and oi of despair by stories, jokes, and astonishing embraces. Remove shallowness from our lives and destroy senselessness, that we may discover your plan and fulfill your purposes. Give us insight and vision, and he will perform signs and wonders in the sight of all humanity, as you yourself once did in the land of Egypt and its Sinai. Show us life in all its glory, and we will glorify your name, here and now, everywhere, and forever. Amen. All right, let's go back to the Shema.
כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגן יומם בלילה, ואהבת קל תשים ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Page 30 is the Shema. Cover the eyes.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Uncover the eyes. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuta Le'olam Vaed. Oh, let's do the English paragraph together. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children, and recite them at home and away, night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and upon your gates. All right, there's a silent reading below that Shema paragraph, and after that we're going to 32 for the Milchamocha.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן. As the Rabbi said, we are now in the middle of the page 32. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, עושה לפניהם, מלכותך ראו בניך, מוכי הים לבני משה, צליאנו ואמרו, Adonai di Yaakov, unge alom yad מעט חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
All right, 33 is where we go around the room, and if there's someone you know in need of healing, mental, physical, spiritual healing, please mention their name and we'll wish them refuah shalema. Refuah shalema. Refuah shalema.
Martin Baker.
Refuah shalema.
Patricia Garrity.
Refuah shalema.
Herbert Brofsky.
Refuah shalema.
Donna.
Refuah shalema. Yes, Toby.
Lauren Mauer.
Refuah shalema.
Todd Austin.
Refuah shalema.
Bill
Yes,
Flaker.
yes, Linda.
Margaret Leona and Mary McGoldrick.
Refuah shalema.
Bill Flaker.
Refuah shalema. Yes. Okay.
Dorit Bat Vera,
Refuah shalema.
David Ben Leah,
Refuah shalema.
Kathy Cairns, Paul
Refuah shalema.
Saramite,
Refuah shalema.
and
John Granacki.
Refuah shalema.
Serafina Klein.
Refuah shalema.
Martin Reynolds.
Refuah
Russell Schotzberg.
Refuah shalema. Okay.
Stanley Kahn and
Unfortunately.
Esther Newhouse.
Refuah shalema.
Amy Rose.
Refuah shalema.
Ruth Bat Leah.
Refuah shalema. My sister-in-law Yocheved Masha bat Avram Simcha Baruch v'yenta Leah. Refuah shalema. Yes. Now we're going to read the English paragraph on 33 on the left-hand side, top left. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace, and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Borei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim, v'al kol ha'olam kulo. Amen. 34.
Please rise for Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasor et HaShabbat L'Dorotam Berit Olam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasor et HaShabbat L'Dorotam Berit Olam V'niwen b'nei Yisrael Oti le'olam, oti le'olam V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat L'asot et HaShabbat L'Dorotam Berit Olam Ki sheshet yamim Asa Adonai את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת בי נפש שבת בי נפש שבת בי נפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות בברית עולם. ויגדל ויתקדש שם רבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דיברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי. וקיים כל טוב יומי כל וחיי לכל בית ישראל. בגאווה ובזמן קריב נמרו אמן. שמירה ומבורך יעולם יומי יומייך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קדושה אלא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירה בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
The Amidah, the standing silent prayer, 35b to 38, after which you may be seated.
Do I know? Same thing.
Shalom, Imroma, Uyase Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'ale kol Israel, Ve'imru, Amen. Ose Shalom, Imroma, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Israel ve'imru amen. Ose Shalom bimroma uyase Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Israel ve'imru amen. Yase Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Israel ve'imru amen. Ose
made Kiddush. So, yes. All right, 47.
ויכולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויקרא אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון כונה שמיים וארץ מגן עמוד ודברו וחיי מתים במאמרו האל הקדוש שאין כמוהו המניח לעמו ביום שבת קודשו כי בו רצה להניח להם כי בו רצה להניח להם לפניו נעמוד ביראה ופחד ונודה לשמו בכל יום תמיד ואין הברכות אלא הודעות הטוב השלום מקדש השבת וברך שלי ומניח בקדושה ויעמדו שני יונק סכר למעשה בראשית.
Well, I'll just give a little explanation here. This piece here, which the cantor sang so beautifully, at the bottom of 47, is actually a precis. It is a shorter version of the Amidah that we just read. It was put into the Siddur during the Middle Ages, and the reason for that was if somebody came late to shul, they would zip through this instead of the entire Amidah. And it was the duty of the rabbi, or probably the shamus instead, to stay in the shul until this person was finished davening. Because in case an evil spirit should attack him, the shamus or the rabbi could help fight it off. The other thing is the custom of doing Kiddush in shul was because travelers, very often in the days before Holiday Inns, would sleep in the shul. So they would have their Kiddush made there. But it's fascinating how much stuff crept in here. Okay? That's Joshua Trachtenberg, by the way, Jewish magic and superstition. Wonderful stuff. All right. We can read the English on 48, top left. Our God and God of our ancestors, find favor in our Shabbat rest. Instill in us the holiness of your mitzvot, and let your Torah be our portion. Fill our lives with your goodness, and gladden us with your triumph. Cleanse our hearts that we may serve you faithfully, lovingly and willingly, Adonai our God. Grant that we inherit your holy Shabbat, so that the people Israel who hallow your name will always find rest on this day. Praise to you, Adonai, who hallows Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen.
Kadish. Sholom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Hashem Rabbah. V'yalem adivra chilute v'yamriz malchute v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayechon v'yit Yisrael. V'ganav v'zmagane v'yimra. Yeresh v'yirma v'yora. V'yora v'yamaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yidrom v'yidnase. V'yitadal 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 Shemay Kodeshah. V'yila v'nikol v'yichata v'shirata. Tush v'chata v'nichimata v'namel v'yimbra. Yitkabel אצל הדורות לכל ישראל, כדמות משמעיה וגימברו. יהי שלם הרבה משמעיה וחיים עלינו על כל ישראל וגימברו. עושה שלום במרומן, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, וגימרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומן, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, וגימרו
All right, is anybody making announcements?
Rita's here.
Oh, is Rita? Is she Rita here too? Oh, there you is. Okay. I didn't recognize you. Not seated on the presidential seat.
Good Shabbos, everyone. How did you like tonight? It was good. Yeah, it was good. I thought so too. And because it was so good, I think we're going to do it again. So we'll let you know, and we'll have a little different variety. And as long as you enjoyed it, that's what we're looking for, to give you the most pleasure from being in temple as possible, along with your spiritual life, social life, that's good, and we have that already. Welcome to new friends, it's lovely to have you with us. Welcome back, everyone. An old friend who's back too, so glad to see you, Marcus. Tomorrow is our more traditional service, our morning service. Join us. I know we have a regular Friday night crowd and a Saturday crowd, but we could do both. You could come too. It's really lovely. And after services, Rabbi has his class, which will be
Right, this is we didn't do too well with Musar, but we're going to go back to it for what they call midot, or midos, to develop the proper characteristics of personality. So we're going to have a checklist and handouts, and if you don't pass, you can't go to Kiddush. No,
So bring your personalities tomorrow, because we're going to be talking about them. And during the week, we have our minions on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning. Wednesday is a big day for classes with Rabbi. 4:30 adult Hebrew class. 7 o'clock current events class. On Thursday, Cantor Javier has his diving into the Siddur class. All of our classes are really extraordinary because we're blessed with extraordinary clergy. Be on the lookout for our Hanukkah dinner and celebration on December 8th, Saturday night, December 8th. I think it's the 7th night of Hanukkah.
Yep.
Right, yeah, 7th? Yes. Bring your menorahs from home. We're going to have Hanukkah abayat. Tabayat? Tabayat.
Chanukah
Hanukkah?
b'bayit, here in the house.
Okay, in the house. Here in the house. So, in the house. So bring your menorahs, bring your candles. Yeah, we're all going to be lighting our candles together. And we're going to have a lovely catered dinner. Diamond Caterers is doing our dinner. And I love you. It's a pleasure to have Galia here with us. Yes. We have a lot of things planned. Take a look at your bulletins. We have events planned now through May. So I think they're wonderful.
Have you notified the fire inspector About all the
All the
candles.
candles. Hanukkah candles.
Don't tell. Well, if you don't get the fancy ones, the old-fashioned ones burn so fast that by the time the fire department got here, there'll be no evidence, right? But they just go down and drip. Right, right.
Oh,
So please join us for everything.
Rita, the 12th has been canceled.
Yes.
Yes, yes. The Sisterhood sponsored trip to the Holocaust Museum, is that the one you're speaking about? Yes, that trip has been canceled. There were not enough bookings to hold a bus for the trip. So we'll be scheduling some other ones in the near future, probably in the springtime. We're trying to keep up with everything. So just know we're working hard for you, and it's a great honor to do that. Good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
It was wonderful. Thank you, sweetie.
Just a quickie about Hanukkah. We were talking about the candles. The truth is that it's customary for women to not work during the time that the candles are burning, which is why men arranged to make them as short as possible. If you're interested this year, at home, okay, you can buy the longest candles you can find and let them burn. Okay. All right, I think we're doing the Aleinu. Oh, I have to open the ark. How about that? Okay, would you ladies like to open the ark?
Sure.
Okay. Please rise for the Aleinu. Yes, Miss. And afterwards, you'll close the wooden doors. Okay, okay. Right, the curtain is closed, the doors are closed. Thank you very much. Yasher Koach. As the doors are closed, if you're not saying Kaddish, you may be seated. The mourner's Kaddish is on page 52. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah Amen. Yalmad yivrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. Echayechon v'yimeichon chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'galav v'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivorach v'yolam u'meil maya. Yivorach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya, Chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Ose shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yoshvei Tevel v'yimru amen. Please be seated. 54 is the Adon Olam.
So I am going to invite the two extremes of female age here. That is,
See, he can get away with this because he comes from a very romantic people.
that is Rhoda, that is our youngest, oldest one, but is the youngest in spirit, and the youngest in everything. And with Galia.
He's a pretty young person.
Young in spirit.
Yes.
Yes. And proudly, con mamá, no, con Rhoda. Vení.
Come.
Con Rhoda. With Rhoda.
Family.
Okay.
Go.
1, 2, 54.
Three.
Adon Olam, Hashem Olam, B'Kerem Kol Yisrael, V'Etz Nasav, V'Etz Sokol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'Yacharei Kikol Karko, V'Yadoi Kikol Adon Olam, V'Hu Hayah, Hashem Allah, B'Kerem Kol Yisrael, V'Etz Nasav, V'Etz Sokol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'Hu Eli, V'Chaim Goli, V'Tzorgati B'Yitzara Adon Olam, V'Hu Nisi, U'Mam Nosri, Menaskosi V'Yom Ekra Adon Olam, V'Ya'adon, Akim Ruchi, V'Yetzi Sham V'Ya'ira Adon Olam, V'Yim Ruchi, V'Yatzi, Adon Ali V'Lo Yira Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'Kerem Kol Yisrael, V'Etz Nasav, V'Etz Sokol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam.
Please rise for the closing benediction.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha,
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha,
The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto
Yisa
you.
Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May the Lord turn his face unto you and grant you peace. We'll say Amen.
Amen. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Hey. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shabbat. Shabbat shabbat shalom. Shabbat shabbat. Shabbat shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Hey. Shabbat shalom. Hey. Shabbat 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 shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Hey.
Shabbat shalom. Hey.
Shabbat, Shabbat, Shabbat.